Yesterday, I reached out to the race directors for the Crater Trail 50K that I'm running, not this weekend, but the weekend after that. So like in about a week from the time that you're watching this video. Today, let's do some virtual course recon. But first, I gotta show you some of the footage that I got from today's morning run. It's not related to this video at all, but it was just fantastic out there. You gotta check it out. 10.01 miles, 8 minutes, 36 seconds per mile, 143 beats per minute today. Some pretty harsh weather conditions out there. Today is Friday, May 28th, 2021. And you would think that with it being Memorial Day weekend, start of summer, I wouldn't have to be running in a hat, a long sleeve, pants, and gloves. But here's where we are. Temperatures were in the mid to low 40s. Winds were 20 miles per hour sustained, 40 mile per hour wind gusts. The lake was so angry this morning. It was incredible to run in. My feet were absolutely freezing because normally whenever I run through water, I'm choosing to run through water. But today there were times where I couldn't avoid it at all. And I was just running through just like ankle deep water. It was really, really cold. And then there was one point where I wanted to keep going, but the Chicago police were out there turning people around because the one spot right by Oak Street, that's like the most dangerous part of the lakefront path as far as weather goes. In the winter, it's treacherous. The Parks Department has lost an actual truck from that point because they were trying to salt the path one time and the truck just slid into the lake. Yeah, people get washed out to the lake. Not a lot, but it happens, and it usually happens at that point. The cops were out there today trying to turn people around. So I had to add a little bit more at the kind of the top of the route to get my mileage for today. But overall, pretty tough out there. I had just a lot of fun out there. I was able to get home safely. I don't think I was in danger for any of the places that I was in today, playing it relatively safe and getting ready for the Crater Trail 50K. I feel like the legs are coming back. Still not 100% fresh. Like I wouldn't be able to go out and do 5K time trial tomorrow, but I'm feeling good. Tomorrow will probably be a long run, a long-ish run, a medium long run. Not nearly as long as the marathon I ran last weekend, but another long run. Not really to get in a workout per se for the 50K, but just to make sure that like I'm not changing things too much as far as what the body is used to and what the body kind of wants at this point. But today's video, I want to talk about the Crater Trail 50K. It's a race that I've never run before. I always get lost whenever I'm in even the simplest of places, like an amusement park, for example. So I've been really concerned about like running this much distance in a trail race kind of situation where I just know I'm gonna miss some course marking. So I was hoping that I could get a GPX file from somewhere, or maybe find someone's old Strava post from when they run it a couple of years ago, to get a sense of like what the course is really gonna look like. I reached out to the race directors of this event, and within like a couple hours, they sent me one. And it's 2 laps around this course. Each lap is about 25K. So you're either like, do the lap twice and you'll be good to go. So I loaded it up into Komoot, which is something I was gonna have to do anyway, because of what I wanna do is use it with my Vantage V2. And the way to get courses into your Vantage V2 is to use Komoot. And so I've got it here. So let's take a look at it together. So what I can do is I can start looking at it right now in Komoot. And let's expand it to make it a little bit bigger and easier for you guys to see. So I can set it up so I can kind of like scroll along the bottom and see the dot moving along the course, and also see it along like the elevation. So that was pretty cool for me to be able to see. It looks like, according to Komoot, that it's going to be a 14.5 mile loop. So that'll be 29 miles. So it's going to be quite a bit shy, I think, of a 50K. But I mean, I'm not really going to complain about that. And ultimately, maybe by the time like you actually, maybe that's the way someone like biked this course. I don't know how they obtained this GPX file. And maybe like by the time you run it, it's fine. Or I mean, I don't know. Either way, this is the number that I'm getting. And it's telling me that it's going to be 1325 feet of vertical gain over the course of this route, which is also a little bit different than kind of what I had been expecting. On the course website, they say that the 50K runners are going to get about 5,500 feet of gain. So that doesn't quite add up. Even if you double this up, then it's only at like 2,650. So it's quite a bit of difference. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be encountering, but I feel like this gives me a little bit better information than what I had before, which all I had before was some YouTube videos that I was able to find, not of runners of this race, but people who have been mountain biking in the area. And from those videos, I was able to see that, like, you know, this area looks a lot like, and the way that the race organizers described the area, it sounds a lot like the area we were earlier last year in the summer in Gothenburg. We spent a lot of time with my in-laws in New Vienna, but a little bit further north from where my in-laws are is Gothenburg. And that town, it's a river town, just like Decorah, Iowa is, where there's trail races. And I think the geography is going to be pretty similar, at least from what I've seen already so far. So the most important thing for me was, you know, I was looking at the route map that like the race organizers had put out. And there were a couple of parts, like, where is it? Like right here. Like there's a couple of points like this where when I looked at it on some of like the race maps, it just looked like a plus sign, and it looked like there was like a 4-way stop, and I wasn't sure which way I was going to need to go. So what I appreciate about this is, I'm sure you could do it loaded up in a bunch of different kind of GPX viewers and get kind of the same type of information, is I was able to kind of like follow along the course and see like, all right, so in the beginning, I'm going around the perimeter, and then as we zoom in, as I get to this, what looks like kind of like a 4-way stop, it's not really a 4-way stop. I'm really going to be going kind of following the trail along this way. So like that cleared things up a lot. Like I just didn't know which way I was going to be going within like the first, you know, mile of the race. And so like that kind of helps me out a lot. Plus when I have it loaded on the watch, it won't be the full map on the watch. That's not the way that Polar does their maps, but I'll at least get like notifications if I'm going the wrong way. And it'll beep. It's more like, you know, here's your dot and an arrow telling you you're either in the right direction, or here's how you get to the right direction to get back on course. And so that's a nice thing that I'll be able to see. So like what I've already done before is I've kind of like used this on the bottom here to kind of just scroll along the course to see like, all right, as I'm going through, which way does the course really go? And then I can zoom out. So as we're coming out of the hills, it looks like we're going to be on an actual road or along a road for a little while, and then hopping into some flat for a real long time, like over almost a mile, and kind of maybe a place that I can, you know, just open up just a little bit and get the legs stretched out. And then we kind of hook a left, and then we get back up into some hills again and loop back around. And then see, this is going to be another tricky spot for me, I can tell right here, because if we're zooming in, I have a feeling that's like kind of like, I don't know if these parts actually are going to touch each other, or if it's going to be like a 4-way stop. There's probably an aid station there is my guess. And so that's going to be a part where I'm going to be really concerned that I'm going to get lost. And then after we do that kind of like little out and back, it looks like you hook further south, And then I'm guessing this is a pretty big incline on the way down, and then you're just kind of like looping back and forth. And then we're gonna get onto some road down here. So we hook back around and we actually get onto some road, and then it's another flat stretch. So anytime we're on that road, it's a nice flat stretch. So that'll be nice. I'm guessing it's gonna be more of a gravel road. But then we're coming back up on that road again and doubling back. All right, and then a lot more kind of like rolling up and down. I feel like it's, you know, these areas where it's like rolling, you know, it looks like it's kind of like not switchbacks, but kind of like meandering through up and down some of these big inclines. And then we get back to this point, this junction, which is probably a location of an aid station. They gave a whole list of aid stations, so I'll figure that out a little bit later as we get closer. But then, you know, kind of like just running all around through this giant area here, but gradually just kind of increasing and going upwards in terms of elevation is what it looks like to me anyway. So, I mean, this gives me a pretty good sense. And then we get towards the top back up here. It's pretty flat up here, I guess, relatively flat. Well, there's some inclines in there though, but nothing giant. And then we get back to kind of like the start, and then we'll do it a second time. So that kind of gives me an idea of like at least which ways to go. I don't think I'm going to try to remember like where are all the rights and lefts, because I'm just not going to be able to remember that anyway. And the minute that like I get tired, I'm going to forget it, even if I thought I could. So mainly what I want to do is just kind of like make sure I'm looking out for any main surprises. My other concern is like how steep are these inclines really going to be, right? And so that's another thing that I'm concerned about, because I'm just not used to a lot of elevation here in Chicago. And I want to know, like, you know, should I just walk up or power hike up all the hills, or can I run them? How runnable are they? How much kind of torture am I in for? And so one of the things I can do is compare this, let's collapse this, to some other running that I did last summer. So I mentioned we were in Guttenberg, when I think the geography is pretty similar. Here's a route that I had put together in Komoot last summer. And I ran this route almost exactly a year ago, or I guess like 11 months ago right now at this point, that I think gives me some pretty similar kind of results. And this was, I think, just like a Saturday run that I would have done, had 1,000 feet of gain over the course of 16.7 miles, at least as the course was measured out. And the nice thing about it is I can kind of compare like some of these like slopes, right? And so as I'm going through, some of the ones that I'm really concerned about are this first one over here on the left, where it starts at like 1 mile in. Then we've got a climb that's going to be like 11% incline, which is pretty steep. And it's going to last about, 0.3 of a mile for the majority of it. And then, but it's still going to gradually increase up for about 0.6 of a mile. And we're going from 1085 from 955. So like 130 feet about over the course of 0.6 of a mile. There's two really big hills that are in like the Guttenberg area that I ran regularly when we were out there last year. And this is this first one. This one is not that nice. It's pretty mean because there's a turn. So it looks like you're almost at the top of the hill, then it turns, and then you have like, you're not even halfway. So that one's pretty vicious. And that one starts at, it's got a 12% grade, I think is the worst it gets. But it starts at about half a mile into my run that I would normally run there. And then 625 to about, 940. So about 300 feet, right? So about the same amount. So this is kind of the same incline that we're looking at. But this one is over the course from 0.5 to 1.2. So about the same, So it's a little bit longer. So maybe it's going to be a little bit less steep than that. But that was also on a road and not in the trail. So that's gonna also feel a little bit different there as well. So kind of gives me an idea though of what to expect. I know this hill that's in Guttenberg. I ran it many times. So I kind of have a like mental feel for what that is, although it has literally been like over a year now. Not over a year, less than a year, almost a year since I've run that. And then I was looking at this a little bit while I was getting ready for this video, and I'm trying to remember where this is. And so I looked at it on Google Maps in this Osterdock area, and it's on this street right here, but this street is not available on Street View, but I do remember, I've run in this area quite a bit, so I've looked at some of these photos that are back here, and I remember the route that I would run in Oosterdok would be to come down this. You come down a pretty big descent, which is this one right here. It's really nice, very scenic. But then you make this right turn right here, and then you go up this dirt road for a while, and there's a couple of farms, and then there's a big ascent. I remember that ascent. I think at the top of that ascent, there's like a goat farm or something like that. I don't know. Trying to think if I remember that correctly. But yeah, I remember running this route. I think I ran it once or twice. That week I did a 100-mile week. But yeah, that second climb is pretty intense as well. And it's similar to like this one that we're looking at in the Crater Trail. So I envision it's going to kind of feel pretty miserable, just like that one. This one kind of it really starts climbing at 6.82 miles at 682 feet. Oh, look at that, 682, 682. And then it doesn't really stop. I mean, there's a little dip here, but if we kind of to like here, that's at 9 miles. So it's like, it's 2 miles long of climbing. That's not right, is it? Yeah, 6.82 to, yeah. Am I doing the math right on that? Yeah, so about 9 miles to get to the top, although it kind of peters out towards the top. But goes from 682 to 9, almost 60. So a little bit less than 300 feet there as well. So that one, I was always running up that one. And that week, I was just trying to run everything like really easy because I knew I was trying to put in a high mileage week. So I remember I was huffing and puffing coming up that hill, and it was hot. The sun just beat down at that point. But yeah, I was able to do it. I'm not going to say I was fine. It definitely hurt. But it's something that I've experienced before. So that's a nice sensation to kind of know that like some of the toughest hills that I faced when I was in Gothenburg are about going to be like what some of the toughest hills are going to be like here. Now, there's these couple of flat stretches, which is that road, I think, which is kind of like a frontage road almost, I think. I think some of these areas here, even though the inclines aren't quite as like steep, they're not the ones that really jump out at me. I know that these are going to be pretty intense as well, because I feel like from mile 10 for like a good 5K is just a gradual uphill, with a couple of downhills in there too, but pretty much just a gradual uphill. So that's going to be pretty rough, and I'm gonna have to manage that. So I'm feeling good about it overall looking at this, comparing it to other runs that I've done on what I think is similar terrain. Now, the roads that I've run on in Oosterdok, those were all like dirt roads, right? The kind of stuff that like tractors and farm equipment can go on, and pickup trucks and trailers and things like that. But this stuff out here, I don't know how slippery it's going to be. I don't know how slick it's going to be. So it could be real different. I'm wondering if it's going to be a lot like the terrain that I saw in New Wine Park, which was in New Vienna, which was a much smaller route that I would tend to run, but it had a lot of pretty steep uphills and downhills. The uphills were so steep that I probably, if I saw them in this Crater Trail run, I'd probably power hike, and the downhills were like steep enough that I didn't ever feel like I could really bomb down them. I had to kind of always slow myself down a little bit because they were just a little bit too steep in a lot of the places. So what I'm hoping for is just a nice runnable trail. I don't mind the up and the down, but I want to be able to let it open on the downhills, and I don't mind having to power hike on the uphills. So that would be ideal for me. I think that would play to my strengths, but I don't know. Now let's take a look at that actual run that I did in Oosterdok. That it ended up being 17.14 miles as I ran it, and trying to keep it at an easy heart rate. The heart rate for that run was, where's the average heart rate? Let's see, where does it show? You gotta go all the way down the bottom. The average heart rate is 140 beats per minute for that 17-mile run. 853 per mile with 1,000 feet of climbing on that run. So I feel like that gives me a pretty good sense of where I would be and the kind of like pacing that I could do. I'm not going to be shooting for 9-minute miles for this race. I'll probably be a little bit more conservative than that. But for a 17-mile run, trying to keep it at relatively low heart rate. This is kind of what I was able to put out. It took me about 2.5 hours, so I'm feeling good about that. I feel like, this Crater Trail run is going to be a little bit more challenging than this Oosterdok run, but it's going to be a lot more challenging than this Oosterdok run. But it gives me an idea. And in terms of the pacing, when I'm coming up this first giant hill in Gothenburg, you know, when I'm at the, you know, steepest of grades, you know, I'm at like 12-minute miles, 13-minute miles. And that's, you know, gives me an idea of like, you know, what should I not really worry about in terms of being able to move through things pretty quickly. And then the same up here, and that once I'm in Ulsterdock, the town, you know, I'm moving up that longer. It's the same elevation gain, but over a more spread out area. I'm still in like 12 and a half, you know, slowing it down quite a bit to be able to get up that hill. And, you know, I felt like I got through that area pretty good. So it worked out. It worked out well. So, I mean, I think getting this GPX file makes me feel a lot better kind of about this race. I feel like I'm feeling more like it's something that I'm going to be able to manage. I'm trying to think of what shoe did I wear for this run. I mean, a lot of it was on, I did this in the Mizuno Wave Rider Peach Trees. Wow. Nice. I'll get the route loaded into the watch so that way I don't get lost while I'm out there. That's like my biggest concern. I feel like as long as I don't get lost, I'll be in pretty good shape. At least I'll make sure I have a good time. And that's really the only thing that I'm trying to do out there, is to get out there, have fun, just, you know, run through the hills and in the woods a little bit, and just enjoy the environment, and, you know, hopefully run with some other people while I'm out there. That would be great too, just because then it'll take a lot of my mind off of things in terms of, are we lost or not? At least if someone else is lost too, then it's not me and my poor navigation skills. So I'm feeling good about it. I'm very glad to have that GPX file to help give me a sense of what this course is going to be like. So excited about that, and I'm feeling really good. It's going to be, by the time you watch this video, or at least by the time this video publishes, it'll be exactly 1 week until the race. So feeling good. I'm getting really, I mean, I've been excited about it, but I'm getting really, really excited about it now, because now I'm kind of like visualizing it. I'm feeling myself out there, you know, and pretty excited. If you have any questions about the route or how I'm looking at this race, or especially if you are looking at what I'm looking at and you're like, you're looking at this the whole wrong way, Co, let me know about that too in the comments down below, or better yet, let me know about it in a live stream that I do just about every day right here on YouTube. I'd love to be able to talk to you guys about it there, because after all, this is my first trail race. So that's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you on the next one.
Yo, what's going on?